Tom Brady on the call. Back in Tampa. Probably thrilled to not have to do another Cowboys game because that's all he's gotten through his brief broadcasting career up to this point. But he was on the call in Tampa Bay yesterday for the dismantling of the Philadelphia Eagles by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just game-wise, Tampa Bay looked great. Nice bounce back off whatever the hell that was against Denver. And Philly just looked completely overwhelmed. They, too, are banged up with injuries, but they don't look like the same team that they were a couple of years ago and even parts of last year. It seems like something's off with them. But nonetheless, Tom Brady's on the call, and this is not long after the comments came out on the Casa de Club podcast, Corey Kluber's podcast, in which Baker Mayfield talked about, guys being stressed out when he got there and, Tom Brady, holding players accountable, et cetera, et cetera. And so there was an opportunity during the broadcast for Brady to address those comments, and it went like this.
Said, quote, "They wanted me to come in, be myself, bring the joy back to football for guys who weren't having as much fun." It's funny because you've made this environment for me very stressful up here in the booth, so I understand where he's coming from.
Do you feel it?
No.
Feel the stress? No. Well, I was going to say, I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings. So there was a mindset of a champion that I took to work every day. This wasn't daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids.
Yeah, so, as you were saying, go ahead. That's you feel like I feel like there's more in there to say.
There's a way to approach this game, and it's that with the right mindset and try to push each other outside of our comfort zone, and great teammates do that. You come in, I have someone like Gronkowski, I have someone like Evans. There's high expectations for us. We got to make sure we go out there and deliver.
The competitive juice is still flowing.
It's still in there.
I love
no
it.
apologies.
So that was Tom Brady's response to the comments from Baker Mayfield.
We talked about this when Baker Mayfield said his portion of it. And I hear those comments from Tom, and I think the first thing I just say is he's setting the tone where he's not going to allow anyone, if they want to take a shot at him, to take a shot at him. Now that he's outside the realm of football where he can't let his play do the talking for him. Now he gets to talk. And he doesn't have to be under the, umbrella of Bill Belichick, who didn't want him to be the person that he's always been. And so now we're getting an idea of what that is. A highly competitive individual who strives to be the best at whatever he's doing. And with that is going to come, some pushback anytime someone makes comments like that. That's how he's wired. That's how he's geared. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it was a lesson for Baker Mayfield in the sense of, and look, I've been through it before, and especially in media. Like, I don't always say things the way I'd like to. And I listen back and I'm like, okay, could have done this, could have said it this way, could have, positioned it this way. But what Baker will learn is, the media always gets the last laugh because they're the ones that have the writing the article last, saying whatever they get last. It's really hard, outside of just then going on Twitter after you hear something like that to say something. That's why I'd be shocked if he even responds to this, because there isn't a response. This is the GOAT. And you're talking about the difference in environment between when he was there, when you were there. And there are some elements of that maybe there's some truth to it, like people aren't walking on eggshells or people aren't stressful, but whatever the case may be. But the difference is because you're not Tom Brady. You're not the greatest of all time. You're not in an organization where they brought this guy in to win it. That was his whole, he went through the note cards. I don't know if you guys watched the game. He had the note cards. Yeah. We can get to one of the teams that wasn't really reportedly a team that was supposedly had a chance of getting him, but he mentioned it. But he went through all the list of things and criteria that I think he had 17 or 18 different things he was looking at and why he chose Tampa. But when he got to Tampa, everyone knew what the goal was. That was his goal, to go win a Super Bowl. They did it year one, right away. So, of course, there's going to be stress. Of course, there's going to be everything else that goes along with that, because he's trying to hold everyone else up to the expectation that he has built because of what he did before he got there. With Baker, it's an entirely different feel. He's trying to prove himself. He's trying to own over or win over that locker room to get guys like LaVar to look at him and say, like, yeah, I need you to believe in me. If Tom Brady comes on LaVar's team, is there any question of whether or not you believe in Tom, LaVar?
No.
I mean, if Tom looks at the defense and says jump, everyone's going to jump because he had that equity already built up before he got there. With Baker, everyone's going to look at him funny, like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Let's go play some football first before you can figure things out.
Yeah, there was a reason why he jumped out there like that, because it was unwarranted to put himself in that way. He doesn't compare to Tom Brady. It almost makes me feel like the reasoning behind it was he felt like he needed to say it. And if I'm looking at it from the standpoint of Baker Mayfield jumped in front of a Mack truck because he felt like he needed to do it, I wonder who was gassing him up in the organization to do so, because that seems like the type of dude Baker Mayfield is. Like he's a team guy. His guys are his guys or whatever. It could have been a coach that was feeding him that. I don't know, but it just seems like it didn't come like it was unsolicited. Like that wasn't just a random shot fired at Tom Brady. And I just wonder why he saw it fit to put that out there. That would be my biggest question in all of this would be, why did Baker Mayfield feel it necessary to make that statement in particular as it applied to his being in Tampa Bay, knowing that this was an opportunity for him to kind of rebound from what didn't happen for him in Cleveland. It just doesn't seem like you would want to kind of upset, or disrupt in that way. There's really no purpose, would be no reason outside of if he were doing it. And I think you kind of touched on a little bit, Q, in terms of, was he doing this so that he could be accepted, so that it could be like, oh, he stood up to Tom, like we could follow him, like he's a leader, whatever it may have been. Something spurned him or something made him put that out there, or made him think that he needed to put that out there.
So Baker Mayfield was asked about this after the game. Let's take a listen.
A lot of that got taken out of context. None of it was personal by any means. It's just, what he demanded of the guys, and that's the aura of Tom Brady, and that's what he did to bring a championship here. And so, nothing personal, but talking before the game, he's obviously happy for me, and he knows the guys, so he knows how much I enjoy throwing to Mike and Chris, because he got to do the same, and so it's fun to be able to, talk about the same experiences with a guy like that.
So, here's what I wonder. When Brady makes those comments that he does during the broadcast yesterday, were those comments directed at Baker Mayfield or maybe somebody else?
I think they were directed towards him.
I don't.
Baker said it. Like, who else would he direct it at?
But he's saying it from the words of somebody else who was there when Tom Brady was there. And I wonder if that was Brady chirping back at whoever went to Baker Mayfield and said we were really stressed out and there was this and this and all this other stuff that was going on. So I wonder how much of that was really aimed towards Baker or maybe whoever else was in the building.
But it could have been like a GM. It could have been a scout. It could have been anyone who said it. But I think that whoever had this conversation or multiple conversations with Baker Mayfield, it made Baker Mayfield feel as though he needed to address it. And that is a personal, like, I don't understand how sometimes people say things like that's not sensible. That is personal.
I think the only thing that, when you say it gets taken out of context, it's like, well, all right, let's go back and listen, because this has happened to me, man. I mean, to this day, people would be like, hey, man, you weren't high on C.J. Stroud. I go, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, you said something before the draft. And this is how, people just don't listen. They don't read. They don't ever look at anything and look at it. I said, what do you mean? Because I said that he had skipped on the Manning Academy and told what I was told by a very reliable source. That's all I said. I said I thought he was going to go number 2 in the draft right behind Bryce Young. I said that the kid was amazing during his entire career and dealing with him at Ohio State and everything else. But people don't listen to stuff. So in this case, we get the clip of what Baker Mayfield had said. We don't know what the question was coming off of that, what the conversation was coming off of that. I mean, I just echoed the sentiment of when Peyton Manning was in Denver. And I was in Kansas City, talked to some guys that played for the Broncos, and they talked about the difference of what it was like with Peyton. Because I was curious. I was like, what's he like? What kind of stuff does he do? Or, how's the environment different? Like, what are meetings like? I was curious. Could have signed back there. In a lot of ways, that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made in my professional career, was not signing back in Denver to just see how Peyton Manning operated, see how he did things. I never had that opportunity to learn from someone like that, and especially like an all-time, Hall of Famer, all-time great. So, the hard thing is I don't know what the entire conversation was before he made those comments. Is there some truth to the environment being more stressful with Tom? There probably, yeah. But that's what comes, again, with a guy who had won 6 Super Bowls at that point, a guy who'd already been determined and considered the greatest of all time. And look at the run that they had during those 2 decades. So, look, he made a mistake in the way he went about presenting it. I've been there. I've done that. Surely not going to condemn someone for something like this. I'm sure he'll learn from it. But more than anything else, to your initial question, Jonas, I said it's a tone-setting comment. Tone-setting for everyone. Like, it doesn't matter if it was Baker's comments or someone within the organization. I think Tom Brady's setting the tone like, okay, you want to say something? Okay. I'm going to go on national television because I'm going to have time to prepare what I want to say and how I want to say it. And I'm going to throw an absolute overhand right like Mike Tyson in his heyday. And I'm going to knock you out, and I'm going to knock out the next person. So if that's what you want to step to, good luck, because I'll have the time and platform. I mean, notice how KB teed him up again for an on-camera shot.
You had more.
That
was like more. Like that's what, like, just so people understand how games work. You don't come on camera as an analyst and a play-by-play unless it's the open out of halftime, end of the game, or there's a break where it warrants that. That wasn't really like a break. That was them interjecting what Tom wanted to say at that moment to make sure his message was sent very clear to everybody out there listening, knowing that this would get picked up and this would get discussed. So it's not just Tom even too setting the tone. This is Fox Sports. This is, KB and everyone else behind the scenes who's produced it. Like, they're all saying, like, all right, you want to take shots at our guy? Like, we're going to provide him every opportunity to go 100 on your ass.
I was underestimating how much he would address it. I thought maybe he'd make like a swipe or some sort of comment like, just hope they're not as stressed out or something along those lines. But the fact that he was teed up, there was a presentation, I was like, well, that's pretty cool.
And you could hear it in his voice and see it in him, like the intensity.
Oh, he's pissed.
Oh, yeah. You can see it.
And by the way, the other part of that too is like when he got to dude, it was in the middle of COVID. Like there was all sorts of crap going on.
They're practicing at parks. He was getting kicked out.
Like
he was knocking on doors trying to find playbooks for people he didn't even know.
It's like everybody was stressed. It wasn't just Tom Brady. Everybody was stressed.
Did he knock on like Byron Leftwich's like next door neighbor in the wrong house?
That's a great point. The whole world was stressed out.
Everybody
then.
Was like underwater and just overwhelmed with what was going on. Like, yeah, of course, like it was a stressful time for everybody. Yeah. We didn't know if a season was going to happen. We didn't know who was going to play, who wasn't going to play, who was opting out, and so
Tom didn't care about the virus, bro. He was like, I'm on a mission. Like, all you cats out there who are worried, massive, whatever. He goes, I don't care. I'm going to go out there and ball. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm preparing to go win a Super Bowl. And that dude did through a pandemic.
Yeah,
like, I mean, we joke about the NBA and the Bubble Boy Championship and all that. But there's something to be said for, enduring like the Lakers did that year to be able to win it. I mean, everyone's under the same conditions and they found a way of winning. But you look at Tom Brady in that instance, it's like all those stories. And I got some boys in Tampa too who are like, man, that guy is on a mission. Like he's not trying to play around with anything. Like it's all about going there and proving it. And he did, man. Yeah. It was incredible.